everybody, it's Cinnamon Coney, your Art Sherpa, and today is a very special day. It's a mental health update in relationship to art and creativity and well-being. I am going to, in this particular vlog, go over my current mental health status, like where things are currently at. I am going to share with you the coping strategies that I've developed and the self-care practices that I have developed that have worked for me. I'm going to go over my mental health tips and advice that I have having been through this journey. Talk a little bit about what resources and support could look like, especially if you don't have the incredible infrastructure of healthcare that I have where I currently am. And I'm going to take your questions during the live stream. Now, to help me do this big project is my husband, John.
Hello.
And he may weigh in from time to time because he's been on this journey with me and has had his own unique experience. He's going to be talking to you, and he's on his own mental health journey. And we're going to talk about how creativity and mental health relate. So I'm excited because I think that they go hand in hand. I've got the live chat going. If you're here for the live stream, because you should definitely do this live.
Yes.
Be sure to put your questions all in caps. We will not think you're lying. If you are new from the podcast I just did with the Frugal Crafter, Lindsay, welcome. And if you didn't know and you're in my community, I just did a podcast with the Frugal Crafter that was really interesting. She asked me some interesting questions. It aired on Sunday, so it's available for replay. You can go watch it if you are interested. I think it's quite good.
It was really cool.
I think it was good. I think it was really cool. And I'm ready to sort of get into this like today.
All right.
All right. So first I'm going to sip my drink.
That's it. Step one. Sip your drink. Everyone get comfortable.
Your comfort beverage, right? You need a comfort beverage. Sip your comfort beverage. And I'm going to talk about my current mental health status, like how things are today. Today. Compared to where they were in January. So they're so much better today than where they were in January. If I were to say 100% of myself, and I was down to like 20% maybe when everything went down, my ability to draw, my ability to paint, my ability to be creative, all of that had just fallen away from me. I would say I'm about 80% back. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think at least 80%.
I feel like I'm 80% back. Like energy-wise and positivity, I feel like I'm better than I've been in years. And I'm so much more able to recognize what's going on in my mental health and kind of head things off at the past before they become a problem. So that's been something that I've noticed has changed, is my ability to self-recognize where I'm actually at and not somehow downgrade or negotiate or mitigate my internal experience to, meet those adulting needs that we all do. Like normally, yeah. I think we do that where we have adulting responsibilities. And so we shove down our internal needs, right? With this idea that as soon as you get enough sleep or as soon as you get a break or as soon as something else happens, as soon as A plus B, right, then C. But the problem is that C is super important. And when it goes wrong in a big way. So being able to head things off and recognize what it is and not negotiate it has been a big change for me, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Like taking days when I need days and recognizing, like I shouldn't push through today. I still have to do adulting stuff that's uncomfortable, but I'm better at managing it. And I think that's a combination of some self-care practices and also my medication. I do think it's there, but I do feel better.
Yeah.
Where do you think things are at?
I think that, I think that they're...
To put you on the spot with your wife, right?
So with you, I think everything is much, much better. I was going to say, I feel like it's much more akin to like, I feel like energetically we're kind of back when we were like, hey, we've got this crazy idea. Let's do this thing called Acrylic April for the first time. And we were like, yeah, we'll just like go and do it, So I kind of have, that when we had that, let's just go do this kind of energy, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of back.
Yeah. Like, just officially, I'm working on Acrylic August right now. So it looks like that's going to happen. And, I think it's a good program. I think it's going to be a good Acrylic August. And 31 paintings, I think, is going to be very exciting to you. And I intend to come back in a big way in the fall. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, I think August is a great way to kick that off. Daily painting in August. How fantastic is that? So I'm getting ready for that, and that is going really well.
I was going to say this acrylic August, I think, is going to be some of the most accessible for a lot of people because it's a lot of really accessible, easy. I wouldn't say easy to do. Each lesson has very, very good components to it that make it daily.
Yeah, I think it's more really set up to a newer painter trying a daily practice, right? Rather than a highly experienced painter just turning on a daily practice.
Yeah,
so I think it's more new to the whole thing. I'm kind of going back to the beginning. It's new to the whole thing, kind of being friendly because we're onboarding a bunch of new people.
Like art yoga or art kung fu. It's like you're doing these moves that you train, but they're not hard. Right?
Yeah,
You're
it's
kind
true.
of doing this like all these training, and it's really cool. I enjoyed it.
And this particular month is not hot yoga with
no,
it's comfort yoga.
This is like out on the lawn.
Slow
Everybody's
yoga.
doing some cool stuff. Then there's a nice breeze, and we're just chatting.
Because that's where I'm at. I can't be at the same full tilt status that I was before. I think I will be soon. Like I see signs that I'm getting back to it. The thing I noticed that changed for me was that the muscle memory that I had. It got disconnected from my brain. Oh, I see a great question. Norma Harkless asks, what adulting tasks do you still find difficult? So I find it very challenging to deal with clutter and disorganization, which if you have 3 kids,
and
there's some of that always going on, and the just taking care of those like day to day, like the never ending, the always present. I like to call it laundry mountain.
Right.
The dishes, that kind of stuff. That's still actually I still find myself really struggling to just. I was at least doing them in a non-issue kind of way, but now I have to sort of like Thomas the train, get myself into the kitchen and be like, all right, we're gonna do this now, or we're gonna do this other thing. I think also I am still struggling with cold calls.
yeah,
I have a real problem calling a stranger for any reason, even a business reason, especially if I have to in any way do what I perceive be disappointing them. Right. So like to cancel a doctor's appointment is really challenging for me. And it's more challenging right now. So that was a very good question. Heather C. asks, how are the kittens and do they help or hinder your art journey? The kittens are huge. They're growing like so fast.
yeah.
And they're great. They're just amazing. Like I'm so thrilled. They just bring me so much joy. I hope I do half for them what they do for me because it's incredible. And how are they impacting my art journey? I am cleaning up my art space. Like I would leave paint out before and get to it when I got to it. But now I'm like, the minute I'm done painting, I clean it up because for sure they're going to find it and walk through it. And that's what I've learned about cats is like, if there's something for them to get into, they are also brush stealers. So much like I don't know if all cats kind of do this. They steal brushes, especially have natural heads on them, like hair.
Oh, they love the bristle brushes.
And so like that is really good. All right, I want to talk to you guys about some of my coping strategies and self-care practices.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hi, I'm gonna give art high fives to everybody in the audience. See, hi Trish, hi Patricia.
Yeah, and I think we had a
Diana.
super chat go
We
by.
did. It was Heather C.
Heather, thank you so much for that super chat. I really appreciate
Yes, it
it.
was.
That
It was
makes
Heather
a big
C.
difference, by the way, because YouTube does not reward the art creators
They're not
the way that they reward, say, music creators or gaming creators. And what I mean reward is the amount they pay you per 1,000 views is variance depending on the type of programming that you do. And I think they're completely wrong, but they don't seem to think that the type of programming I do is particularly valuable for 1,000 views.
High click.
It's not high click. So,
high value
the super chats are really, really helpful.
Yeah,
and
they do really
I want to read this from Anthony. You are loved. 4 years. Love your new style. Thank you for what you do and for inspiration. Well, you are so welcome. You are so welcome. All right. Self-care, coping strategies and self-care practices. So for me, my biggest thing that I'm doing differently now is I'm never letting myself get past my middle range of distress without checking in with a mental health professional. Because I've recognized when I get past that, that's where my good coping strategies start to fall down and my bad coping strategies start to come into play. So if you were to take your internal well-being from one, you are at your favorite location on earth, doing your favorite thing with your favorite people, and you feel financially secure and you feel like everything in your life is super secure, right? Everything's good, as good as it can be, you know? And then 10 being, it could not be darker, the worst it could be. Your good coping strategies are all gone and you're down to bad coping strategies. So 5, the middle of that 5, I can handle everything up to a 5 using things like 4x4 breathing. That's a breathing in for a count of 4, holding it for a count of 4, breathing out for a count of 4, and doing that again. I do the thing where you smell some things and you taste some things and you hear something. Basically, it asks you to like listen for so many sounds. And I don't do there's specific numbers, but I never remember it in the middle of an anxiety moment. So I just give myself like, all right, let's hear 3 different sounds. And once I hear those 3 sounds and I look at, you know, a number of things that are catching my attention, I try to feel the clothes on my skin or the air, you know, and I try to see if there's like, you know, do I feel any taste in my mouth? But I just go through my senses. I can do that from 0 to 5 and it's brilliant and it works for me. Take a walk, get distracted. Oh my goodness. That's, you know, my Korean dramas. I can see why I'm attracted to them. They're very calming and therapeutic and they're distracting. So if I'm really stressed out, I can watch one of those. Obviously art, right? Like we can do art to distract ourselves. And that's fantastic. And so I have been painting. It was really hard for me to do art in the beginning because I really lost my ability to do it. I know that scared all my art friends to death when I told them that. They were like, wait, our art can go away? And I'm like, yeah, that's the worst news I could be delivering, but your ability to art could go away. So I am now able to art for self-care, which is really, really nice. Though I still am getting frustrated in that last, again, 20% of the artwork. I still find myself a little frustrated, but I'm mostly great and getting back into that space, I think, for me. And then my self-care that I do is I make sure I'm getting sleep. And I make sure that I can't eat a lot because my medication messes with that, but make sure that I'm eating well and healthy. And I do that consistently and I'm not letting myself get run down. So that's sleep and eat. And I did that because at the mental health care hospital, the two number one things that they were about was making sure people were fed and making sure people got sleep. And it didn't matter why you were there. They were super concerned with you eating and they were super concerned with you sleeping. And it left me with this impression that the cornerstone of being your best human you can be is taking care of those base needs. And so like an example that would be if I'm not getting good sleep and I'm not eating well, when I come into a high stress situation, I'm less likely to have the mental faculty and the well-being to recognize, 1, where I'm at, and 2, how to address it, like what coping strategies to use. Trish Woods is doing a good one suggesting this. Who am I? Where am I? What is happening right here and now? 3 questions that help me quickly be more present and shut of the chemical dump that happens. That is a good description. The chemical dump. Recognizing that I am bipolar and sometimes how I feel does not reflect what is happening in the world. Or when I feel a feeling, I can feel that feeling too much feeling. Which is fun when you're elated and happy and in your upswing, and really kind of a downer when you're in conflict or in your downswing. So those things are there. So getting that sleep, and getting that food. And I think that's impacted the whole family, hasn't it, John? Getting the sleep and getting the food. Like the whole family's made a change to make sure I'm okay. And it's really helping everyone else be okay. Because again, if you want to be your best human with your most tools, if you've eaten and you have enough sleep, whatever faculties that you have to face the challenges in your life, the disappointments, the things that make it hard for us to keep our, you hear that saying, tipped your apple cart over. You're trying to keep all your apples in the cart. You're better at keeping all your apples in the cart if you're fed and you slept. So if that's something that you can do right now, that's something that's really made a difference. I've also found having a few things around that are there when stuff goes wrong. So I have an emergency basket with things I find calming. Pop-it toys, fidget toys, little sniffs. I got into these things at the hospital. They were nose aromatherapy capsules, and you put them under your nose and then you can smell mint or lavender. I got some on Amazon and put them in the basket. Interestingly enough, I have sour lemon candies, really extra sour lemon candies, because apparently if you're having an anxiety attack, a burst of sour can help you like kind of break out of it and have at least a little bit of that hiccup to be able to stop and think, oh, I'm okay. I've got to calm down right now. Oh, Shay Joe, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that so much. So, those are some tips and stuff. The other thing I want to talk about, besides having the crisis box, that's what I call about. Like, I want to give you guys some advice and some tips around it.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Before we do that, could we have a word from our sponsor?
Who's our sponsor? Them.
The live SMS system that you can join by texting JOIN, JOIN, to the number 734-808-0828. And that's just so that you guys can stay connected to us when we go live and we put the stuff out here. We really appreciate you guys. This is one of the ways that we found just allowed us to make sure that you all know when we're going live.
Kimberly Davis says, I love the emergency basket. I keep good smells around and things I can put in my hands and in the pocketbook too. Yeah, I think in the pocketbook's a really good idea. So I have this sort of like the emergency basket, and I think that I'll bring it into the thing. The other thing that I would love to say is I'm starting to keep things around me ready for the moment. So like, in my studio and stuff, it's making sure that I'm not blocked by, I can't find my brushes, I can't find my paint, I can't find out what I'm doing and can't get my references, like having chaos that blocks you from those things that you would be doing to calm yourself, but you've let things get away from you. So it's like setting things up for success for the day ahead of time when I have the energy. So when I don't, it's there. I have my emergency basket. The other thing is the emergency plan. I have a emergency plan taped to my refrigerator, and it just has the numbers that I need, right? And we have used it actively since I put it up. Since we made the initial one and I talked about everything and I talked about the mental health care and having an emergency plan, I made a custom one up with our doctor's numbers. I have poison control because, again, I have 3 kids and I've had to call them before. And not so much since they're older, but you just never know. So poison control there because I'm not going to know the number. I have my local numbers for crisis. So in my area, I'm very blessed. There's a crisis response infrastructure. And so I have places and people to call. I would say, though, that the 988 number is a very good number. And if you need it, call it. Don't downgrade yourself and be like, no, I'm not bad enough to need it. If you're even thinking you need it, you probably do. And calling them is a great thing. And then if you don't want to call, they've got a chat. I've got it written down here. It's the 988lifeline.org. And if you don't want to be on the phone because it gives you anxiety, it gives me anxiety, they've got a interactive chat. And the other thing I'm going to say is if you don't have access to good healthcare infrastructure, there's these online counseling services now, and they have sliding scale. I think BetterHealth has sliding scale, but a lot of them have sliding scale. So, if you can't pay as much for the hourly wage, they have that. And so I check in regularly with my mental health care person, with my doctor, just checking in, making sure I'm doing stuff well. Which I've been pretty good about checking in, I think.
Yeah.
So definitely have that there. But if you don't have that, really take a time when one of the big things I just want to share with you is having a plan when things are going great, making a plan for when things are not, because when you're well rested and you're well fed and things are going great, you have your best, most agile, flexible thinking, your most out of the box thinking. And that's the time you want to spend a couple cycles making a plan for whatever your personal crisis moments are. The fights that you have maybe that blow up around you and you don't expect to have happen, or, maybe your crisis moment is in traffic, wherever it is, whatever it is, social anxiety when you're out and a panic attack hits you. Make the plan when you're feeling great. And then I think one of the most important things in the plan is to itemize and really spend days thinking about it, because I didn't think of all my resources initially, of the support resources that maybe you have. And it's mental health care, that's fantastic. Put that up there. But, like my cats are mental health care resources. They really are. Like if I'm in a really bad place, they can really, really help me. So maybe you have a pet in your life. Do you have friends or acquaintances in your life that you can talk to? Do you have family members that you can talk to? Do you have community infrastructure? Are you avoiding resources because you don't want to deplete them? Because we all do that, don't we? We save those resources for somebody that really needs it. I know I'm really a person who does that. And, being there, and I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I was over here just checking out what was going on in the...
That happens to me. But sometimes when I wasn't acknowledging the resources I had available to me that I really did have, because I didn't want to impose on friends. I didn't want to impose on people. So make a list of what those real resources are. And know that it's okay to lean on them.
Yeah.
Okay. Bree Snyder saying, I called everyone everywhere to try to get therapy. And it took an attempted self-harm to get any help. It might, unfortunately. Mental health care around the world is probably 50 years behind where it should be compared to the rest of medicine. I think it's underfunded and undervalued. We recognize that a virus is a problem, but we don't recognize sometimes that even thoughts can be like viruses. Like, it can catch, societally, like we don't really have a hard time. And how important our mental well-being is to our overall well-being, I think it's just undervalued in every way. So,
I mean, anger is super contagious.
Anger is super contagious.
Just like road rage.
And people who have anger problems, they have so much shame. And this is just something I noticed as I was going through my own journey and talking to people who are going through that. They have so much shame for having the anger. In fact, everybody I would see going through all felt bad about angry. But I want to say to you that I think anger, when it's healthy, and by that what I mean is it's not just happening to you. It's not just a wave that washes you away and you say a bunch of things and you do a bunch of things that later you're going to have to come by and do an apology tour for because you got too saturated for the moment. I mean, like anger where you recognize anger is empowering in this moment, anger is appropriate, and you can use that anger, but keep your language and your actions reasonable and controlled. I actually think anger can be very, very good in that way. But if you are struggling with anger, I'm really happy to know that there's some support, but it is hard to sometimes get support when you need that without feeling bad about what's going on. But I did see like anger management courses out there. There's a lot of online information for anger management. And so a lot of the stuff that we have to do, like with a person, there's just a lot of resources online now. And so just know you're a valid person and it's okay. We all struggle with something. And if you're going with that and you're feeling really bad about it, just give yourself a hug and just know that you are, doing good. Playful Painting says my hubby gets all of his help and meds from the VA. That is really good. I'm really good. Professional health care is super expensive and insurance is hard. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a true statement. It's expensive to get professional health care, and insurance is hard. It's a true story. So, we don't all have access to equal resources, and that's another problem, because I can come up here as I don't think I'm a shiny influencer, but as a shiny influencer, right? A person with a platform, right? And say we should all have mental health care, and we can all clap and go, yeah. But the truth is that we don't all have access to the same quality of mental health care, period, health insurance, period. So we're not having a universal experience. And that's where something like art, I think, comes in, because you can do a lot of work with art, and you can do a lot of work with creativity to help yourself process through complicated feelings. Again, there's a lot of online resources, and, try to find the resources that you do have access to, because you do deserve them. You do absolutely deserve them. Come by the group. Come by live chats. Believe it or not, this talking with other people, it's a really good resource to not be isolated alone, and to normalize yourself. Because if you get too isolated, like I was getting too isolated, and I was not normalized. I was normalizing the wrong things and not normalizing what I needed to normalize. So I was normalizing my state of chaos instead of recognizing that it was something I needed to address on a medical level, right? So it's really easy to normalize our crisis, I think. And so I guess my takeaway is, recognizing it sooner and earlier, and making plans ahead of time. I mean, a lot of times we know what we need. We just don't give ourselves permission to need it, I think, is a thing. And Trish Woods is saying anger is an addiction. Oh yeah, no. All the emotional states are kind of addictive. We can get into recursive, reductive thinking in almost any emotional state that we have. And it's certainly a trap. And sometimes, you know what? Having a complete freak out feels so good after it's over that sometimes I think people will freak out just to get the emotional relief from all the pressure that they're under. Because I think we're under a tremendous amount of pressure. I read all your comments from my first video, John and the comments since in different posts and stuff. And what I will say, my takeaway from that is that talking to you is that we are all under too much pressure. Whatever is happening in our lives, it is too much. The wonderful, bucolic, simple life, nobody has that anymore. Everybody is in it, and they're in it like treading water and just trying to stay afloat. And it's a universal thing, I think, right now for most people. In fact, it's so unusual for somebody to be like, yeah, no, I'm great and everything is great. And for them to be genuinely like, no, I'm a great family and everything is great in my life and I'm really great mentally. We ran into somebody who said that, and it shocked the entire table. And it was such a weird thing to surprise everybody. But I realized all of us had more going on, and it's so rare and uncommon for a person to have their needs met and, have their family life be stable and have their work life be stable and have every element of their life be stable is the rare unicorn. I think the lion's share of experiences is that we are struggling, and isolation makes it worse, I feel. So that's another thing, is trying to break isolation. And I wanted to share with you, as I've been doing the Zooms and as I've been watching things online, and I feel like I've learned some things from being online and paying attention to other people's experiences. I feel like that's a good teacher. Is joining art leagues. There are art leagues and art societies. You can find them online, and they service an area. The Watercolor Society is the one I know that has the broadest reach, and it's fantastic. I can't gush on the Watercolor Society enough. And even if you're not a watercolorist, I highly recommend it, because they have lectures, they have reasons for you to get out of the house, they have exhibition opportunities, and you don't have to. You know what? You can be in an art league and never show a piece of art in any of their juried exhibitions. You can just go and help you can literally just go help them organize the show and go and attend and be encouraging and never put a piece up on a wall and still get a lot out of it. Sometimes I would hear people say, but I don't want to show any of my artwork and I don't want to sell any artwork. You don't have to do that to be in an art league. You don't even have to paint in the medium that they paint in. So society and leagues are like, search your local art league, your local art societies, and see what you have there, because it's like just getting out and talking to other people and just being face to face and not having all of our interactions be so heightened and saturated and intense, right? Like if we're isolating a lot at home and we're just going to work and we're just driving in traffic and we're just doing these things, we're not really servicing the need that we have as creative beings. If you're a creative being, you need input, external input on some level, even if you're a highly internal person, because that's where the inspiration little pops come in, and going and taking time away it can be really, really helpful. Though Bree is saying getting out of the house is almost crippling for me. I get that. Like it's still a struggle. I love putting on makeup, but like lately it's been a struggle to put on makeup, and I'm a person who likes to put on makeup when I go outside. And the many reasons that I can talk myself out from like just taking a walk at the Arboretum or just doing something, I'm pretty good at talking myself out of it. And I feel like others are too. Don't you, John?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of where I'm at. That's what's been going on. I just wanted to check in with you. One, because so many of you were so worried about me and about John. And I want to say thank you so much for caring. To be a person that so many people care about is such an honor and a privilege. And to be on the receiving end of that kind of support and love is such an honor and a privilege. Little touched here, sorry.
Yeah.
I think about people who don't have access to that, right? I think about how much harder it would have been if I didn't have that big wave of support, how much more work I would have had to have done to get there. So that's the other thing. I want to just invite you guys to come by the groups and come by these live chats and be in the supportive spaces, because I can tell you it helped me get through. It helped me get through. And like, if you guys want to share your top tips for like your personal strategies for being a creative and dealing with the many stresses around creativity and how to keep your overall distress levels lower, maybe I don't think people should be up around 6, 7, 8, 9. I think globally that should be avoided, but I recognize there's nothing but diversity in biology. Biology is nothing but diversity and strangeness. So our brain makeups are so different, and we're and depending on how we grew up and everything, we might have different core values. There's just so much going on in us that makes us up, that makes us a unique soup of an individual. So your numbers and your needs may be different than mine, but what is the same is that you deserve to have those needs met.
Yeah.
Whatever they are. I might not know what they are, but you deserve to have them met.
Everybody does, yeah.
Lindsay Michelle, it took time for my art muscle to come back and my memory. And Mom said, from taking a long break. Sometimes if we take a long break and we have to take it for, maybe we're grieving because we had a loss of a family member, or maybe we've had our life imploded by one of the, divorce, job loss, economic crisis. There's a lot of catastrophes that can come in and make it like where we just can't get into the studio. During the worst of it, I couldn't get into the studio. It was so hard for me to paint. So for whatever reason, you have to take a break, and you need to take the break, because sometimes we need a break from anything. I wish there was a break from Laundry Mountain, but we need a break, right? From everything. And just so we can be sustainable. But when you do come back, yes, you do lose some muscle memory. It takes a minute to get your skills back. I had some extra stuff going against me that my medication was really kind of making it very, John was like calling it like I was firing on one cylinder. He was just like, I don't know how long I can deal with firing on one cylinder. Cause I felt like the tortoise and the tortoise and the hare. And like I was talking real slow. So, that's just something you have to sort of factor in is that reality, that there's going to be some getting the skills back. And I think you guys reflect this to me because I'll be in group and many of you say, well, I've been in grief or I've been in this break for these variety of reasons. You guys always have very good reasons for why you're not painting. And, reasons where I just want to come and give you a cup of coffee and a cookie and a hug. But that you find when you come back that, you lose skills. By the way, when you're just painting regularly, every once in a while, you can lose gains. Like all of a sudden it's like you forgot to paint and that can go on for a period of time. Mm-hmm. This is very messy up here. And so realize that this is an ebb and flow too. Like your creativity has an ebb and flow, has a tidal sort of process coming in and out, I think. Oh my goodness. April Dickens says, I can't paint without you. Well, thank you so much, but I'm going to keep working on getting you to be able to paint without me because that's my personal goal, but I love having you here. And Jane Garrett says, I'm so grateful I found this community and you're also super kind and supportive. Yeah. The art community, especially here on YouTube, is just amazing. And I feel especially mine. I love mine the best, because they're mine. I think you guys are the greatest ever. ever. It's really fun when I get with other YouTubers and we talk about communities because I come in like hard, like my community is the best. And generally can convince other YouTubers that it's true. Yeah. Like I can get them to be like, wow, I wish my community was like that. And I'm like, yeah, you do. I think, I talked about it in the podcast that maybe Tom and Hank Green have a community like this, but I think it's rare that creators get to have a community like what we have. I think it's unusual. I think there's some out there and you guys might be part of 2 or 3 communities. By the way, that's an outreach source, that you can use is these online communities. So any thoughts you want to leave everybody with?
Thoughts I want to leave everybody with? Yeah, I would say,
I'm going to try a sip of my relaxing beverage.
I'd say that mental health requires good mental exercise. And, you
did stoicism to help you through.
I think...
Because John couldn't get any help while I was getting help. It was really weird. John couldn't get any help. For those of you who are like, I can't get help in my area, John kept asking for help and could not get help because he wasn't quite...
It was a lot of complicated things. There was so many complicated things that were happening at that time. And part of part of my journey was leaving up the footprints of what had happened to all of us along the way.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how to deal with any of this stuff as a partner. I mean, it's not like we get it. It's like with kids, you don't get a handbook with kids. And so this stuff, and what you learn real quick is that it's a great, big, complicated world. I mean, we can look at anything as what we would think is relatively simple as a paperclip and realize that it has a complex hole that goes down, 100 years and has a vast history and all this knowledge and stuff goes into paperclip making. But it's like, and yet we think that mental health is a simple thing. So
yeah, it's super complex.
It's very complex.
It's super complex. But John found, not in every aspect of stoicism, but John found, and honestly, there's some roots in cognitive behavioral therapy, intellectual behavioral therapy that definitely has some flavor of stoicism in it. Right. So there's some lessons in there in philosophy. Like there's some philosophy out there that can help you I have a workbook on cognitive behavioral therapy and it's my little workbook and boy, does it help me. That's one of my great resources. Boy, does it help me keep fresh the idea that there are logical fallacies and those logical fallacies are where my brain through its strange, distorted perception makes a situation harder for me. more intense or more upsetting or more stressful because I'm using this thought process. And, you know, I'm glad I really love my workbook.
Yeah.
I really love my workbook. It's a good thing. It really, really helps. And I think cognitive behavioral therapy was my favorite thing. It really, 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 really helped me.
Yeah.
Because I think we can get into crazy thinking whenever. So that was something John and I found was similar as I was coming out talking about the cognitive behavioral therapy. And John was talking about his philosophical journey as he's trying to deal with the stress of me being in the hospital and everything he's going through as my partner, not knowing. Because we didn't know if I was ever going to be well again. We didn't know if this was the end of us doing this and John was going to have to get a resume together.
You know,
good job, honey.
Professional paint watcher.
Right. And he's been like, whatever the resume. I've been watching paint dry for 10 years, but before that, I don't know. I ran companies. It was cool.
Weirdest return to the career path ever.
Right. It would have been really, really strange, but he didn't know. So he found some stuff. So just know that there's stuff out there, you know. Janine is talking about that her husband is bipolar and it's hard to understand where he's at. Yeah, I think it's very hard for the family members of people living with mental health challenges. Like, I have a mood disorder and that's bipolar, right? And there's certainly many mood disorders in there. You know, and I almost wish it wasn't called a disorder because it's like...
Yeah, no, it's...
But a disruption.
Difference.
I'm going to call it a disruption, a mental health disruption.
Yeah.
It's a mental health disruption from your ideal self. Like, I know it's very distressing for a partner to deal with it when the mood is really high or really low because it isn't necessarily reflective of what is happening in our life right now.
Right.
So there's a little bit, I'm really learning to make sure John doesn't have to be psychic to know how I'm doing. And I do a lot of check-ins with John. We do a lot of check-ins now with each other. So that just he's not caught flat-footed by anything. And I let him know how I'm doing, you know. And so I've got, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy can be helpful too. That is right. Can I tell you all a funny story about dialectical and cognitive behavioral therapy? So I'm in the mental health care facility and we're in a group and the person leading our group is talking about cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy. And somebody asked the reasonable thing, well, what's the difference? And the person leading the group was like, well, I don't know. They're really basically the same thing and didn't give us an idea of the difference. And I came back and I was like, John, this is really strange because they are the same thing. And he's like, it's in the name, hun. Dialectal, what we say, cognitive, what we think.
Yeah. Behavioral, therapy.
And how those things impact our behavior.
Yeah. So how we talk dictates how we think, how we act, so there's dialectal behavioral therapy. So if you train how you speak both in your head and out loud, then it changes how you act, right? So by decreasing the amount of, let's say aggressive words that you use, then you are by and large not being perceived as aggressive and you yourself not putting yourself in aggressive scenarios that could lead to other more aggressive things.
I actually think that that's a big contributor to the polarization that's going on right now in the world is the way people are talking, the language that's been created, and the way people are talking about each other and the dehumanization of each other has become so profound, and the language has become so angry that it's turned it up. And I think that, if you pay attention, like once I was paying, when I wanted to say I didn't like something, I kept saying I hated something.
Oh, yeah. So then all of a sudden you're in hate.
You
fall into the hate hole.
Like, I hate that type of ice cream. And this was years ago. And Donna has this thing where she says it's not my favorite.
Which is much softer, much better way of saying it.
It's not my favorite because I don't actually hate those things. They're just not my favorite. I really don't want to eat Brussels sprouts for any reason. But the truth is I don't hate Brussels sprouts. I just really, really, really dislike them. Even in butter, even with bacon, I really, really dislike them. And so I'm kind of like green eggs and ham about them. But using that language, language is
and cognitive behavioral is similar. It's it's how you think about the world changes your behavior. So
Brees puts this in caps. A word of caution to all whose partner is bipolar. We are excellent actors. If we want you to think we're fine, you will never know we are not. John, is that a true statement?
It can be for sure. I mean,
like, I don't think you knew how not fine I was until I was so not fine I couldn't hide it anymore. Like, you knew I was off, but
right. And I think that's the thing about it is as a partner to someone who has who struggles with mental wellness, I would say you really have to have a trust relationship with your partner in such that you can say, hey, look, I've got this gut feeling that things aren't right now, and I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what's wrong, but I got a gut feeling that something's off. So can we explore that together safely? And that's I mean, I think the beginning of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you scroll up? There was one I wanted to answer.
Okay.
It's Kimberly. Kimberly, did you ever suffer with mental health issues when you were younger or a child? Yes. Yes. A lot of trauma. Did have mental health issues. I didn't know what they were. Mood disorders are like, they have a genetic component, and we don't really look at children and say this child has a mood disorder, because being a child and being a teenager in and of itself is almost a mood disorder. So we don't really look at kids like that. And when I was a kid, nobody would have even thought to look at something like that. But when I look back through this lens, as I'm going through my therapy and I'm having to do work on my childhood, yeah, I definitely recognize that I had some weird stuff going on. Definitely had some coping mechanisms that were not going to be good for an adult world. So yeah, I think that stuff can start in childhood. I mean, it can happen anytime. Like, we can all get distressed, but it definitely for me started in childhood.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember as a kid, reading books, but I'd never like pick up Sigmund Freud and go, I wonder how I'm thinking about the world. So it's very hard to self-diagnose yourself as a child.
It is, even when you're really present and self-aware.
Right. You like, even so with like, yeah.
And if you're a service person, or you are in a belief system of service, and there's reinforcement to devalue or deprioritize yourself, that can become part of your core value system. And then you have a set of skills that's great, like, man, fantastic in a crisis or when people need help, but not great in the day-to-day when I've got to take care of myself so I can take care of the people around me.
Yeah, I would say that good mental wellness is built on a foundation of good overall health, both, for physical, sleep, diet, all of those things.
April just brought up a big one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. April said, I'm so lonely and would rather have someone to share my life with. You are so blessed. I am. First of all, I totally recognize the privilege and the blessing that I have, right? The fact that I have a platform, the fact that you care, the fact that I can receive the kind of kindness I receive on the level that I do, that I have John, that I have my kids, that I have my family. I'm really lucky. And by the way, loneliness is a difficult and soul-crushing state to be in, and so many people are struggling with loneliness. That's why we keep doing the live chats.
Yeah,
and we do the Zooms, and we're trying to do stuff where people can do that. I do think that these sort of online communities can be helpful, just to not be so isolated, because it's easy to get isolated and it's easy to get lonely, and it's easy to go through a long period of time and not even get a hug.
Yeah.
Think about that. You can go through years and not have a hug when you need hugs. Hugs are super important, and so, like, what do you do as an adult? You can't just randomly walk up and hug people. You can't just go up to somebody and be like, it's been a rough week. I need a hug. So you got to curate community where you have that.
Yeah. I'd really like to just, double down on that, there, April, is that we really do hear that from you, and you're not alone in that. There are a lot of people, and that's why we do our best to create like the Facebook group where you can come in and hang out with people. We can do these live chats where you can meet other people of like mind and like heart to be able to experience more fun stuff, because it's tough. And don't be afraid to reach out to local community groups too. I mean, there's a lot more resources out there. I mean, to be honest, talk to your doctor. Your doctor probably has a resource in their office to help you guys. I didn't know this.
But for the loneliness one, then sometimes another thing you can do is to, when you're feeling particularly isolated or alone, is to then get out and help others.
Mm-hmm. But tell your doctor too. Your doctor will have
definitely
resources.
always talk to your doctor.
It's like, oh, we have
if
all
you're
sorts
blessed
of
enough to
groups.
have a doctor and have health care, talk to your doctor.
And
if you're blessed enough to have that, talk to your doctor.
And if not, call one of the local clinics, because they will have some of those resources. I know I'm not trying to like get on a soapbox, but I didn't know that there were so many resources available if you just go out and ask for them. If you're lonely, they have groups for you to hang out with. If you don't have money to go to them, generally they have ways to help pick you up and get you there and home. I mean, it's amazing.
But that we have infrastructure here.
We do have great infrastructure here.
I think that's the thing, and I've definitely heard from people for where they're at is no infrastructure.
And that
like
does
not
happen
even
too.
a hospital.
And,
no infrastructure, because there are medical deserts, and again, the experience isn't uniform. Jules says, if I place an art supply order, how long to ship to Alaska?
Ooh.
And Jules is going to Alaska for mental health break, which I think is wonderful. I don't know. That's my honest answers. I have no idea. I've been to Alaska. I know how hard it would be to get mail out there.
I'm not going to think it's a 3-day trip, but I can't imagine
by
it's more,
sled dog. I don't know. During winter.
I can't imagine it wouldn't be more than around 7 days, because I mean, like, we can get stuff from on the other side of the planet in 7 days, but it is Alaska. So, I mean, depending on what the bears say, maybe we'll find out. You can email support@theartsherpa.com, and we can try to find that out. But yeah. I don't have it. We don't have
a good answer.
I don't have a live answer for that one.
No, but I just want you to know that I read it and I'm processing it and I'm thinking about it. A lot of people talking about perspective, but how your perspective is impactful, but also sometimes people use your perspective against you, use positive things against you, because we don't all get a great family. We don't all get a great start. Right. And so sometimes things that should be positive end up being negatives, and you have to sort of customize it for who you are. Krista Hanley says, I have nervous energy right now due to my daddy's health and living with in a 4-generation home. I tried to paint, but I can't. It's driving me crazy. Everyone tells me to relax, but I can't. Yeah, there's nothing like people saying relax to help you find your zen. And a 4-generation family, that is a lot of internal pivoting and reshuffling. And there's a lot that you're doing. First of all, acknowledge what you're going through.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Acknowledge that it's a lot, right? It's not a small thing. No one in your house is going through a small thing right now. Everybody is working overtime. I think there's so many blessings with multi-generational houses. I think there's so much good that can come from it, but it can also be...
I have a suggestion for that.
Really stressful to you?
Yeah. Well, so
okay.
If you're not able to paint and you want to get some of that nervous energy out like that, I was going to suggest sculpting little bunnies or something, because then it takes a very small space. I like to sculpt, especially when I had nervous energy. It was something that I like to do. So
because of squishies?
Because of the squishy, you get some hand motion. You're able to work things out. And bunnies are really easy because your bunnies just get better and better and better the more bunnies you make. So
John's advice is to sculpt bunnies.
Sculpt bunnies.
If anyone does this advice and it's useful, come back and let us know.
Post in the Facebook group. If you sculpt some bunnies, I'd like to see them.
Krista, I might suggest it's the environment that you're in, right? Like maybe that energy just isn't good there, because painting is an energetic practice. I think we all can kind of feel that. I would double down on trying to find an art league or an art group where you can go away from home and paint, right? Someplace where it's to go away. And then have a different group of people that you paint with, because it may just be the environment just isn't conducive for that. Like, we've done multi-generational homes, and I can just tell you, just dinner itself, like just getting dinner on the table.
Right,
is its own event. So like maybe the environment isn't it, and you've got to find an environment where you can work, that's out of that. And it can be frustrating. I want you to know that when I couldn't paint or I couldn't draw, I was super frustrated. When I was doing the recovery cat painting, which is that white cat painting, and I could only paint for a little bit every day, and every brush stroke, every color mix was so much work for me. And that was actually part of my therapy is I would get in and I would work on this big project every day a little bit and just be like, I can do 30 minutes or I can do an hour. And that's all I could do. And maybe I only got an inch of canvas finished. It was, you've seen me power through big paintings in like 3 hours. And I'm just like, this painting normally would be like a 3-hour painting for me, but I was struggling through it. Every inch of the way. Now, for me, that was the right choice to make, to have that struggle. That's what I needed to have because I was trying to reconnect my neural pathways to get the art back that I had lost, right? Sometimes the right thing is to just go take a nap. So that was just that right answer for me in that right moment. And it might be a right answer for you in your moment. You just have to test it out. The idea, you just do a little project and you take a big painting you want to do and you just paint a little bit of it and a little bit of it, and you just commit to the consistency of it, trying to get in there daily and do a little. That really helped me. That was just the thing that really helped me. And then Kim is talking about the frustration of moving and everything is packed up. Needing to be creative. Digital art programs.
That's right, yeah.
There's some great digital art programs out there. It's a time to get into digital painting. Oh my goodness.
We are coming up on the hour.
Yeah, we are. And so I'm going to end with Letitia. I love you so much, my friend. Both of you are blessed to have you in our lives. Keep it up. There's lots of people who don't get no help at all. I think there's a heart over the word. So
oh yeah.
Is that what it says? No help at all?
Oh, let's see. Yeah. Mine's
that's true. That's true. That's true. And we need to start reaching out and helping each other. We need to turn down the temperature and start helping each other because this is really hot mess right now. And there's big changes coming and the world is going to get weirder and weirder and weirder. And honestly, we need to be less weird to face it. Yeah. So as the world gets stranger, I think we need to like calm down a little bit and desaturate, you know? So, all right. Yeah. I want to thank you guys for being here for this check-in. If you like this talkie thing, I just want to shout out again that I just did a podcast with the Frugal Crafter, Lindsay Warwick, the Frugal Crafter.
We'll get some links in there.
And yeah, I'm sure somebody will put a link in and everything, but there's some more chatting there. And we will do, we might not always do a mental health check-in, but we'll do some other vlogs in the future because I think these are fun and it's fun to sort of catch up with the community. We'll do like topical ones like, you know, how to face artist block or, you know, selling your art or that kind of thing where we're vlogging about things where we're talking about the concepts and work of it. And I am going to do the paint management video soon. Acrylic August is happening. So if you're like, what happened to Acrylic April? And a lot of people are asking for hints, but what I can tell you, if you want the earliest hint, the patrons get to see the paintings early and they get to even do some of the classes early. So, and that's all level of patron gets access to those early like views and they get to see the paint because they name them. They name the paintings.
Right.
So, and if you're a patron, you get to name the paintings.
There, I just dropped a link to the interview in there for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So that's a link to the interview. And if you heard it and go, let Lindsay know I sent you over.
And someone was asking, what's the last? There you go.
What's the what?
Last 4 digits of the SMS phone number.
Oh, yeah.
They was like, there you go.
Yeah. And so if you can be a patron and you want to get an early peek, other than that, I will release it a bit before August, like just depending where I'm at in production, but you'll see it a little bit before August. Mm-hmm. And I think you guys are going to like it.
Yeah.
I hope so. If not, there's always next year because I do it yearly. My goal is to try to get to 12 because then you could do a daily painting for a year.
Oh. That would make such a beautiful hallway.
Oh my goodness.
Just 8x8 canvases.
I told John, when we finally get back into another forever home, we get into our final, we're going to stay in the Michigan, Ann Arbor area. But when we finally get into our final location.
I want to stay on the street.
Yeah. Honestly, if we could stay on the street we're on, we would stay on the street that we're on. We like it so much. So when we get there, I want to hang all of the Acrylic April that I've taught through the house every year, like somewhere in the house, hang them all, like even if I have to hang them on the ceiling. So that is definitely coming. I have a really cute painting that we're going to do this week. I'll let you have a peek at it. First peek. Woo!
Oh, except it greens itself. Woo! You can't. It won't close up. But all those spots that are holes are green, which I guess kind of translates to green. Because
that's still pretty.
It's kind of cool. It's so like a magic painting.
We'll be doing that. Not the invisible paint. I don't have any of that to share with you, that magic paint. So we'll be doing that later in the week. And I've got another fun one first to do. So we're going to be hanging out together. Come by these live chats. Take care of yourself. That's my mental health update. That's where I'm at in the journey. If you're here in the comments and you have a great resource for people for mental health, then share it. If you have a cool tip for self-care or cool tip to like if you're having an anxiety attack, great ways that you bring it down. Like if you have some advice for other people that has worked for you, feel free to leave that down here. Feel free to do check-ins down here. All of that right there in the comments below. If you're watching this on replay because you didn't come to the live, which is totally okay. Because I check the comments as well. And so does everyone else. We all read the comments. So definitely leave those resources and everything down there. Whatever you've learned, whatever you know, especially if you're a mental health care professional. Really appreciate it when you guys weigh in and give tips. It's super helpful because as we've said, a lot of times people don't have access. So that kind of information can at least make things better. You ready, babe?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I want you guys to be good to yourself and good to each other. And I'm going to see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.